Welcome to the Elaborate Topics podcast, where we focus on lab-specific strategies for medical laboratory professionals. We're proud to be the healthcare detectives that work behind the scenes to get the results needed to influence medical decisions. Let's grow together and jump right into the lab.
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Elaborate Topics. I'm your host for today's show, Stephanie Whitehead. For those of you tuning in for the first time, I'm your podcasting laboratory leader and co-host for the Elaborate Topics podcast. Elaborate Topics is a weekly podcast where myself and my co-hosts, Lona Small and Taiwana Wilson, are bringing you topics related to the laboratory and leadership that are going to help you excel inside and outside of your respective laboratory spaces. I'm real excited because for today's show, I'm bringing back two very special guests and friends of the show, Ms. Joycelyn Jones and Ms. Kristine Talamante. Welcome back.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you for rejoining me for today's show, which I think is very timely and going to be a great show because we're talking about the power in being an essential worker. So Joycelyn and Kristine's bio will be in the link below this show, but I want them to please reintroduce themselves for those who may not have listened to your spots on our previous episodes.
Sure. My name is Joycelyn Jones. I go by Joyce. Some people call me Jayonce. Hey, no, just joking. So my background is human resource management, and I currently am a senior performance consultant with the health system. I enjoy training and development. I enjoy helping, coaching, and mentoring leadership and staff to empower and engage their teams.
And I'm Kristine. I go by Kristine. I am a registered nurse by trade. I am currently working as an assistant director of Palliative Care at a large teaching hospital. And I have worked in several areas of the hospital, but right now my great interest is in leadership and helping staff with resilience and self-care, especially right now. I'm being pulled in ways that I never thought I would be.
Right, and we're going to get into that as essential workers working during this COVID pandemic, this COVID crisis, this very challenging and crucial time in our healthcare system and our nation. In this episode, we want to talk about the power in being an essential worker in your field, whatever field you may be in. There are so many different types of fields where we found that those workers in those fields are essential to what we do every day, and for us to continue to move forward. So we want to talk about the power of being considered an essential worker in your field during this time. So I pulled up the Webster Dictionary, y'all. So the Webster definition of power is getting a community to make a choice or take an action that you want. Now, when you ladies think about that definition from the Webster's Dictionary, why do you think, or where do you think the power in an essential worker comes from? You know, we're essential workers. You know, where do you think that noun fits in with being an essential worker? Joyce, what do you think?
Well, as I kind of thought about it, I think about just the analogy of the power, even of the supply and demand. At this time, the essential worker is in demand like never before. And true enough, the essential worker was needed prior to COVID-19, but now that we are in the middle of a pandemic, we are seeing the need like never before for those that work in the grocery stores, those that work in public transportation, those that work in healthcare, fast food restaurants, teachers, the people that at one particular time may have felt invisible or may felt as not as important,
maybe overlooked.
Mm-hmm. And so now it's like we are looking at these people and we're saying, we need you. You know, we need that cashier at Walmart because, you know, I'm concerned about buying Lysol and toilet paper and all of the necessities for my family. And imagine now, you know, when we had that stay-at-home order, the shelter in place, but yet you have that essential worker still getting up, going to work every day, and now we're seeing how valuable and how, you know, using the word powerful. It's just powerful because they are needed like never before.
So, Kristine, I'm gonna ask you the same question because power can come in many different forms.
Absolutely. One of the things we talked about and one of the things I thought about was power sometimes kind of having a negative connotation, right? So, oh, you know, they have so much power. Well, I don't have the power to do this. Or, oh, well, they're wealthy. They have power because they have money. Yeah. Well, this is one of the things that it doesn't matter that much, right? If you have to come to work, you have to come to work. And we talked a little bit about the firefighter situation where everybody's being told to stay home, and then as essential workers, we're being told, well, you need to come in. And not only do you need to come in, but it's all hands on deck. And so how do you wrap your brain around that and logically say to your family, okay, don't go to the store, you know, stay inside, don't do this, but I'm going to work and I'm running in when everybody's trying to get out. And I guess what I kind of realize is that if you can use that power for good and use it in a positive way, then we can make change happen. We've seen it. We've seen it with teachers. Right. We've seen celebrities, you know, in the media get on and say, you know, because they are powerful just by the nature of what they do, whether they want to be or not, they're using their voice and their forums to say, you know, maybe if I say this, some kids will listen to me, right? Yeah. Maybe if I put on a mask, people will listen to me because they look up to me.
Yeah.
And so that
I think it is a unique time. And you know, when we think about power, like you said, usually it's the rich and powerful, right? But now I'm not rich, but I still all of a sudden now have this power that has never been given to me before. Like people are, like I said, I'm in need, you know, and so I am have this influence. And so, like what you're saying now, what are you going to do with it? Because many times that influence was only given to the rich or to people that had a certain position. But now, say as a healthcare worker, say as a teacher, as this essential worker, a cashier, now that you have this power, what are you doing with it?
Well, one of the major forms of power is there's power in the size of numbers. You have a large number of people, then you can create influence. And so I think when we're talking about essential workers, our ability to influence goes hand in hand with the noun of power. And so when you think about, like you said, teachers being able to influence whether we are going to school virtually or we're going to school in person, healthcare workers being able to influence supplies that we need or protocols that we need in place to remain safe while we're at work. Even when you talk about sports, there's a group of athletes that are coming together to start a union, and they have 3 to 4 demands, I believe, on how they want to create safe practice as being athletes during this time of COVID. For the essential workers that may be listening, whether they are cashiers or in the healthcare system or the laboratory, how can they use their influence to drive effectiveness at this time? We know we've got a lot of stuff going on in our nation. There's an election coming up. There's a lot of stuff on the local level that can be done. So how can essential workers use our sheer numbers, our ideas, our influence to drive effectiveness during this time?
Yeah. You know, for me, it's always important to have a call to action. Like you said, numbers are important. So you're getting people together that are in the same job description, so to speak. You do the same work, so that's great. And now coming together on one accord and agreeing to something, you agree that maybe something is not right. But my take is, and it was even when I see the protests that happened, even after George Floyd, I see the protests, but my question always was, now what? What are we trying to accomplish? What is the end result? And so my take is, when you come together and want to have power, it's good to have power in numbers, but what is the vision? What is the call to action? What is it that you're actually wanting to accomplish? Write that out, make it plain, and then get a strategy or steps together on how to accomplish something versus just voicing a complaint. So what's the solution to your complaint?
And I agree with that. I think when we talk about power, we talk about influence. So if you have power, it's because you're influencing people for whatever reason, whether it's through your networking, just through jobs you've had, through friendships, through whatever relationships that you've had. You build and you have influence over certain people. And some people have more influence over others. But when you go back even one more step, it's about trust, right? Election, it's about trust. Who do you trust? When you say, let's have a newsletter and let's put in all the rules for the hospital so that we can make sure we follow these rules. Well, we have to trust that the people that wrote that know what they're talking about, and we have to trust, and then we stand behind, right? Because if you say, well, they said to do this, or on the news they said to do this, or so-and-so said this, but it's not somebody that you know, it's not somebody that you're influenced by, and it's not somebody that you trust, then it's kind of hard to gather in that group. You may have several subgroups that all mean well and have different things that they're going for, but they're not all united.
Yeah. When you talk about trust, it is huge because, it reminds me of kind of this emerging leader. And as an essential worker, you may have not considered yourself as a leader. And now you are, and how do you get people to trust you? And it is about your character. It is, integrity, the way you carry yourself. All these things that will enable you to be this emerging leader from a place that you never thought of before. Hey, I'm just, I just go to work at Walmart. Now all of a sudden I have this power. Yes, and people can trust you by the way you communicate, by the way you, conduct yourself, by the character that you have. So, again, it is just a unique, wonderful time. And it almost reminded me of, the scripture that talks about, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Now we're at a time where we looked at, like we said, as not important, or what do we say, that not overlooked, now we're looking at them like, okay, what do you have to say?
Right.
Well, how can we help you?
Well, the podcast is always about giving people actionable items, giving people actionable steps that they can walk away from. And so, how can we put that effectiveness, all of these are great suggestions, into a marching order for the listeners. And I think this is a great time if you are not involved in your professional organizations, or you're not submitting your ideas to whatever union or group that you belong to for your organization, that this is a great time for you to start to do that. So what are your thoughts on really the importance in coming together with, your nursing councils and, your learning and development groups and your laboratory professional, listservs and chats, and sharing those ideas, working with each other? What are your thoughts on that?
I think one of the things I'm really, really, really glad that I've been able to do.
Really? You did it really?
I really am glad that I can now say that I'm happy that I'm not a quiet person because you got to speak up right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be silent.
Right.
If anything, do not be silent. Really.
Really, really.
Because you're not helping anything. And there may be somebody in that room or in that office that wants to say everything that you want to say, but they never have before, or they've never been asked to. Just before I came here, they called and asked about doing an interview on Express News. And I'm like, okay, because I've been talking so much lately and doing all this and checking in with my folks, right, with my staff. How's it going? Really intentionally walking around, doing some leadership rounds, checking on them so that they see you. They see that you care. We have some issues with electronic medical record. Don't just have them call you. Walk over to their desk and say, show me exactly what it is that you're doing. And when you are in these meetings with other nurses or, like you said, your professional agencies, speak up and say, well, my hospital tried this. Have y'all tried this? And then another hospital may say, well, we tried this and it didn't work. So you can say, okay, I don't have to worry about that. But I think just not being silent and speaking up is really important right now.
I love that you talked about the team morale. How important is the team morale to the essential worker right now?
It's one of the things where you have to have a connection. So if you don't have one, you make one. A connection can be made as simply as, how are you today? What is it that's going on? To very deep, somebody approaching you saying, I really need to talk to you. I'm having some issues. It could be noticing little things that maybe aren't that big of a deal, like somebody coming in late when normally they're here on time and they're kind of just sitting at their desk, not really being the spunky person that they are, and you just saying, how's it going today? You doing okay? We talked about employees crying during quiet times. We've had some employees that are just go, and then they have a quiet time, like a meeting, something totally not related to anything sad, and they just break down. And so you're like, okay, well, let's talk about this. And so if there isn't a connection, if you have a lot of employees and you don't know every single person's story and family, make a connection somehow. Find a way.
I mean, team morale is huge, especially it was huge pre-COVID, because we understand and research, talks about the relationship between team morale and employee productivity and employee retention and turnover, and all of those things are related. But if you can just, understand right now as an essential worker, okay, I have been coming to work every day while I've seen, everyone else having the opportunity to stay home, work on their yard and work out and do all these things and work from home. I haven't had that opportunity to do that. And now that people are coming back to work, they, quote unquote, almost had a break. We haven't had a break. We haven't had any time off. We haven't had this, and I don't want to call it a vacation or anything of that sort. However, we have had to come, especially all of us working in a hospital, we've had to come to this hospital day in and day out.
Oh, I saw a news clip of a woman that got recognized on Good Morning America. She was a nurse in the ICU. She had worked 31 days straight. 31.
Wow.
31.
Oh, yeah.
So, man, just really looking at people in the eye, acknowledging them, valuing the sacrifice that people are making as an essential worker. So when you talk about team morale at this time, it's huge because a lot of essential workers are fatigued, they're tired, they're overwhelmed, they're exhausted. Because you're talking about 31 days of work, I mean, that's crazy as a nurse. And I mean, Kristine, you can probably speak on that as a nurse.
It's not even work. It's not the normal work they're used to.
Yeah.
It's different work. It's stressful work, and a lot of it's emotional. And I think that's something we should cover. It's not just coming in and doing your technical, work that you can come in and
that's the part you went to school for.
Yeah, that's the part that you can teach. But the emotional part, who teaches you that? You learn that on the job. And right now, the only advice and the only thing I can do for people is tell people that just like, and of course I'm a nurse by trade, just like drawing blood, just like taking a blood pressure, just like giving medications, turning a patient, doing all that stuff, it took practice, right? It didn't just come. You can get a degree, but if you didn't practice it, then you're not going to be good at it, and you're not going to be able to help people. So just like with that, you need to practice your emotional intelligence. You need to practice your emotional cues. You need to practice, if I see this, I'm going to do this. Let me try it out. Nobody's going to know that, that you're not being genuine. As long as you're being genuine, I don't think anybody's going to notice that, I'm a new leader, or I've never been in this position before, but now I'm being asked to help team morale. I can tell you a funny story, just because sometimes this is a topic that gets us kind of down. But I say practice because it's just like anything else. I was having this conversation with my coworkers and telling them, you got to practice, and practice doesn't make perfect. Practice just makes more practice, right? And so, but at home, I was telling my husband, we need to be more open with each other. We need to tell each other, because, you stay at home and you're doing the homeschooling, and he's an accountant, and I come to work every day, and I come home and I want to just get in the shower, and he's just like, calm down, Well, the other day I came home and I was, complaining about something, and he just looked at me and he said, you need to go to bed or something, because you're already grouchy. And I looked at him, and instead of getting mad, I was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. You actually said something. You practiced what I was trying to tell you, is speak your mind, because he helped me to see what I didn't see. He helped me, and then I was like, you know what, I did have a bad day today, and I'm sorry I was taking out on you guys. And I went and took a shower, and I went to bed.
Girlfriend, good for you.
So it works.
Good for you. I like this discussion about burnout and what we're saying about work fatigue, not even just work fatigue, but life fatigue, because you are working these extensive hours, but then you also we all have things that are going on at home. We all have times where we're trying to get through the grocery store, and we're trying to get the essential things that we need at home also. And so when we're talking about, as healthcare professionals, particularly because we're healthcare professionals, we're trained, like Kristine said, for the technical and procedural aspects of a pandemic, not the emotional parts, though. And so right now, I'm just going to fold in everything we said about team morale. Why is it important for us to look out for each other? So to notice, man, Joycelyn, she's just not as bubbly as she used to be. I wonder if something's going on. And to be mindful of not only our own emotions, but what's going on with our teammates, so we can get them some help if we need to.
Self-care is so important at this time. And like never before, the alcoholism and, substance abuse is higher, has increased. Suicide rates has increased during this time of the pandemic and the quarantine. So, can you imagine that, your teammate or your coworker is suffering through, having some mental health that you had no idea because of having to isolate themselves or whatnot. We're not able to spend time with family and friends like we used to, and go out for drinks after work. Our lives have completely changed, and it's very difficult, for a lot of us. And so I think being able to, like you said, go up to your teammate if you see someone is down, and, make that connection as much as possible, because work relationships are important. Connecting with people so important. And when you don't do that, you can really, really miss out on the opportunity of understanding where someone is at and where someone is coming from. And they could be suffering and be right in the same hallway as you and contemplating suicide or
and you don't know if, like, I was raised, and then when I started working in a huge hospital, just to acknowledge everybody. So if I walk down the hall, I'll say, hello, good morning, cute dress, oh, are those new? If it's somebody that I know, and you don't know how many stories that I've read about doctors and nurses who say, I was going through a lot, I was going to kill myself that day, but somebody said hi to me and her smile is so nice, or somebody acknowledged me and that changed it. That just made me realize that there is good in the world, and sometimes you don't know, maybe you're really, really falling on hard times and you're like, show me a sign, right? Let me see a sign. And then somebody comes up and says, hey, how you doing? And that just, you start a conversation, and you don't even know that you had that impact on that person, but it's how you make people feel. Right? And so that, to me, I never forget that. If any time I walk by somebody, I always say hi, usually.
Making eye contact. I mean, simple things like that, because we can't give hugs. That's a good and a bad thing to a certain extent.
Yeah.
We can't be we can't touch people.
Socially distance yourself.
But making eye contact, still smiling when you see people.
You can smile through the mask.
You can smile through the mask. They can see the smile through your eyes. That truly does warm your heart and continues to allow you to keep going. Because, I think humanity in this all of getting through, flattening the curve and fighting through this COVID-19, it's all about taking care of each other.
I think what we're saying is if we tie, the last 20 minutes together for our listeners, there's power as an essential worker in your strength, in your influence, but there's also power in your weakness. And there's power in our ability to come together, to support each other, and our ability to come together and affect change. So I want to transition and ask my guests some questions.
Okay.
Before you do that, though, I know when you were going there through that weakness, it just reminded me of that power when you are vulnerable.
Right.
And seeing people, even as strong as we are, as powerful as we are, and, dynamic in our jobs, there's something about when you see someone being vulnerable and transparent, that trust, that respect, that you have for that person, because you realize, wow, they are human. They hurt just like I hurt. They're confused just like I am through this, And so don't be afraid to be vulnerable, even if you are a leader, if you are, you have people up underneath you. I think being transparent and honest is strength. Is strength in that.
Okay. I want you guys to complete the sentence. So I'm going to read a sentence, and then I want you to finish the sentence with your own thoughts or feelings, however you would like to. Okay. So, first sentence. We ready? You ready?
We're ready.
Okay.
Get it, girl.
Okay. I preserve meaning and commitment to my work by...
I'll go first. I preserve meaning and commitment to my work by giving my time. I give my time to people, and it seems to help because they will tell me, I feel better after talking to you. They will verbalize it immediately. I feel so much better after talking to you.
Kristine is my life coach, y'all. If you need a life coach, use Kristine's information. She will help you.
And a side note on that, though, is I'm empathetic, right? I'm an empath. So that's why I'm good at...
Empath. Is that a real thing, empath?
Well, I think it is.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know
I'm
that.
I'm an empath.
Okay.
So
I like that.
I'm good at what I do, right? Nurses are empathetic, so that's a good thing. But it also makes you sensitive.
Yeah.
And so I have to be careful not to soak up so much empathy that now you leave happy and I'm sad.
Yeah,
I have to be able to deal with that. But one of the things that I thought was a bad thing that I have learned is helpful as a leader is that I'm honest and I'm direct and I just say what I feel needs to be said. And I may preface it like, can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I think it would be okay if you took some time to take a little break because, you have staff that will say, no, I can handle it. I'll work 31 days in a row. I can do this and I can do that and I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't need sleep. And I'm like, you do. Okay. I know you don't see it, but you're painting yourself in a bad light. And I don't want that for you. And then they're like, oh, well, okay, yeah, and then they start to think. But if you say it in a way that's direct and honest, and like you said, look at them in the eye and say, I'm helping you. I'm not trying to tell you you're not doing a good job. I'm telling you we're human. Nobody can do this for an extended amount of time. Like a car. You've got to put gas in it every once in a while.
I appreciate that, Kristine. I love that. I love people being honest with me, especially when it hurts. That constructive criticism is great because it enables you to grow and to learn from your maybe your weaknesses or your mistakes. Sometimes the hardest person to see is yourself. So thank you for that.
Profound.
Absolutely.
I know. It's so profound.
Can we type that up and put it on the wall?
I feel like that was a PBS message.
It really is, right?
Somebody hashtag tweet that right now.
Well, my thing is, and I got some of this from my Bishop T.D. Jakes, my virtual bishop.
A shameless plug.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Potter's House.
I mean, I live in San Antonio, Texas, so I don't even go to his church. But hey, right now we can go to everybody's church right now. But he mentioned something, and I loved it, talking about, like, say for instance, there are 3 people right now in this room, and I can see clearly the 2 people, but there's one person that I cannot see. And that's myself. I can't see me the way you guys can see me. So you have to tell me when I'm out of place. You have to tell me when I'm doing something out of order because I can see you real clear and I can let you know all about you. But, man, when you are the one that needs to be corrected and advised, I, need that information. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you want me to answer A or you want me to go on?
I want you to answer A. How do you preserve meaning and commitment to your work?
For me, and it's really similar to Ms. Kristine, it is by caring for others. And I said this before, too, in my last one speaking to you, because I want to see people succeed. I would love to see people successful. So for me, my commitment, sometimes, there are things that people ask of me that may not even be in my job description, but because I want to see you successful, I'm like, okay, let me schedule time. Come on in. Let me coach you. Let me mentor you. Let me help you with this HR problem. Let me help you, do this X, Y, and Z because I empathize, I care, and I want to see people grow.
You're an empath.
You're an empath, too.
You're an empath.
Hashtag empath.
Hashtag
I'm an empath.
Love it.
Next question. Blank. So you're going to fill it in with what you do. But blank, this thing is my driving force or my motivation as an essential worker every day. What is your motivation? This thing.
Okay. So you're looking at me.
I'm looking at you, Joycelyn. You can't say me. You can't use me.
Me as in me or me as in you?
You can't use me. Me as in me. Stephanie Whitehead. Thank you.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that's within me. You know what? My sanity is my driving force. Why do I say that? Because right now, like never before, it's very difficult. And I believe staying at home, is very challenging. It's challenging not to be able to, visit my cousin's house like I used to, or go hang out with my girlfriends and, again, have the cocktail after work. So at this point, me persevering, getting up every day, getting dressed, combing my hair, putting on makeup, and coming to work, my sanity is important, and I persevere, and I endure, and I come here, and like never before, work has been important. Work has been, a driving force for me just to be normal. Mm-hmm. So, and it's funny because I do have a lot of coworkers or colleagues or friends that may or may not be considered an essential worker, and they see me getting dressed and going to work, and they're like, oh my goodness, I haven't put on makeup in months. I haven't gotten dressed. Oh my gosh, where are you coming from? Work.
Exactly.
And even more so, I'm making an extra effort because I'm like, this place is important to me. I feel good when I look good.
Look good, feel good.
Mm-hmm. So I am, and I encourage, even if you are working from home, it's all good. Go ahead, wash your face, put on some makeup, get dressed. It really does something to your sanity. It makes you feel good. It makes you, continue to push through.
We got to keep our routine. It's something about having a routine that keeps you normalized.
Yeah.
So, Kristine, I have noticed growth and transition in myself through COVID-19 in the area of
patience, meaning the ability to tolerate more. Mm-hmm. I have never been known as a patient parent, a patient person, but I've really been able to tolerate things that I never thought I would, and the ability to promote joy in work. Mm-hmm. I always used to call it compassion fatigue, and I used to call it burnout, and that's a negative connotation, and now we call it joy in work. Mm-hmm. So I am going to provide joy in work. I'm going to help put joy in work. Mm-hmm. And so if that means I make you laugh, if you laugh at me, I don't care. I probably laugh at myself all day long. Mm-hmm. If you have a funny meme and you want to show it to me, show it to me. I'm not going to say, put your phone away, you should be working, know. And I really believe that right now, even though we can't touch, we can't hug, we can't pat each other on the back, literally, mm-hmm. Humans need human touch, and that's what makes us human. And so that's hard, especially on a team where we deal with end-of-life situations. We have people saying, we're used to ending a family meeting with hugging people, right? Yeah. The grandma saying, okay, I understand there's nothing else we can do. I just want my daughter or my son to just be comfortable. And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for everything, and hug, right? Yeah. And that's like the closure. It's not just for the family, but it's for the staff, right? Because they're like, I helped you. Like, you hugged me. That's an intimate thing. And we just met an hour and a half ago. Right. So we can't do that now. So what can we do? And so one of the things I said to one of the doctors was, well, just say, I would hug you right now. I wish I could hug you right now.
That's good. That's actually really good.
I wish I could hug you right now. Yeah. But because I can't, just know that I am supporting you and I am here if you need me. And that's all you can do. You can make a heart symbol with your hand. You can.
I wish I could kiss and hug you.
Yeah, you can. Well, it's whatever you think, Joycelyn. I mean, that's a whole other podcast. But
I know that's a whole. To keep your droplets together.
A brotherly kiss.
Yes.
But
it's true. Use your words, or a lot of like the little kids. They know sign language, right? Yeah. So they'll do the I love you, or they'll do thank you, and put their hand to their chin and say thank you.
My daughter does air hugs.
Yeah, air hugs, exactly. Or, send somebody a text, virtual hug, just in the morning, just to do, And I think that if you can keep that going, then God willing, after all this is over, we can keep doing that. Yeah. And so, people can continue that.
I think that's good because we don't know, nobody has all the answers. Nobody knows how all of this should operate, and there's no right or wrong because of that. And so we got to try to generate what is going to be our new normal to connect.
Yes.
What advice would you leave with our listeners? What apps do you read? What websites would you go to? What books would you recommend to our listeners based on all of this wealth of knowledge you provided in this podcast?
I have recently started using the Calm app, and that helps me a lot. Mm-hmm. That's the one I'm going to say. I don't have any, reason to say other than I'm listening to it, and it puts me to sleep or it calms me down. But something that I heard, and it's a song, and I can't remember who sings it, but it's called "It's Okay If It's Not Okay."
Oh yeah, I know.
And that song, it's just the epitome of like what I want to tell everybody.
If somebody out there knows
let us know.
Leave a comment.
Yeah, it's a Christian band, I know, but it's just one of those things where it's okay if it's not okay,
right.
Because if it's okay, then what are we here for, right? Then how do we learn? How do we grow? So being okay with that is the first step, and I think that's going to really take you far.
Mine, and I'm a spiritual person as well, so I was just kind of looking it up, what I've been listening to. But someone has sent me this song called Man of Your Word, and I believe it's Maverick. And OMG, it has truly blessed my heart, blessed my soul. It just reminds me of that everything that God has said will come to pass, and that, there is strength, I think, in power when you believe in something greater than yourself. I have those things that I definitely, inspired by spiritual things. I always continue to read, leadership books. I even, play games on my phone. I can, kill some spades. So, doing those things keeps my mind at ease and focused. Working out, taking care of myself, taking care of my health.
I roll.
We're all rolling our eyes.
I'm trying to keep it together. These ladies are rolling their eyes at me.
She's the only one working out right now.
No, I think, we're all trying to be fit, trying to, eat right. So
we still rolling our eyes.
still get the eye roll.
I was going to say shopping online, but never mind.
I can honestly say I have come this far without knowing how to play spades, so you have to teach me.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to teach you. And then don't get your feelings hurt when I teach you.
Okay, that's another podcast. Hashtag, that's another podcast. How can our listeners reach out to you both?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on, all the social media. Look me up on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure I'll be tagged on a lot of things as well. But Joycelyn Jones, you'll see the fire. So this girl is on fire.
I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Instagram, Kristine Talamante RN.
Okay, well, there you have it. Thank you, ladies, for taking the time out of your busy schedules and your busy days to give me the opportunity to interview you both. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you as my guest today. Thank you to our listening audience for tuning in to our special guest, Kristine, that's what I call her. And were you Joycelyn?
Jayante.
Hey. Yeah. Sharing the power of an essential worker. If you like what you heard today and you want to listen to our previous episodes, please subscribe at directimpactbroadcasting.com. Remember to send me an email at elaboratetopics@directimpactbroadcasting.com to listen to more about this topic, or just to be a guest on the show, or to give us an idea. Let us know what you want to hear from us next. You can follow me at Stephanie Whitehead on Facebook, LinkedIn, or other social medias. Tune in next week to hear another amazing episode of Elaborate Topics podcast, and until then, have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Elaborate Topics. where your hosts discussed relevant strategies for laboratory professionals. Please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and listen to us on directimpactbroadcasting.com. Stay tuned for another episode with information you can use to excel in your laboratory career.